The escalation in Turkey upped a notch with, for the first time in 4 years, the army crossing the border into Iraq to chase PKK guerrillas. This follows a string of attacks that have left at least 30 Turkish soldiers and police dead over the past couple of days. A ceasefire with the Kurdish separatists that had held for 2 years is now in tatters. Fighting that coincides, by the way, with the build-up to a snap general election in Turkey.
Turkish troops honour 16 of their comrades killed by a roadside bomb on Sunday. Speaking at the funeral, Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu repeated threats to the PKK militants behind the attack.
For the unity of this nation, this homeland, anyone responsible for each and every drop of blood that is shed will be brought to account.
In the wake of this attack, Davutoglu earlier vowed to wipe out the PKK as some 40 warplanes were sent to hit Kurdish militant targets. And on Tuesday, the government announced it was sending special ground forces to seek out PKK fighters in northern Iraq, stressing it would be a short-term mission. This after 2 separate PKK attacks targeted Turkish police on Tuesday. Several were injured when a rocket-propelled grenade hit their armoured vehicle in the southeastern town of Circe. And in the eastern Aralik region, over a dozen officers were killed in an attack on their minibus. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan vowed the violence would not be left unresolved.
We did not and will not abandon the nation's future to a few terrorists.
Clashes between Kurdish separatists and government forces have escalated in recent days. The government and the PKK have been on a war footing since their 2-year-old ceasefire broke down this summer. The PKK attacks have sparked nationalist anger. The pro-Kurdish People's Democratic Party said over 100 of their buildings around the country were attacked on Monday. The unrest comes as the country prepares for snap elections set for November.
Well, for more, let's cross to Washington and Blaise Bisztal of the Bipartisan Policy Center. Thank you for being with us here on France 24. Ankara claims that the incursion into Iraq will be short. How far, though, can this escalate?
Good afternoon. It's good to be with you. I think the fear is that it is going to keep escalating at least until November, when Turkey is going to have new elections. I think the consensus view in Washington is that this war on the PKK is really an electoral ploy by President Erdogan and his AKP party to try to rile nationalists and gain votes in the election after having failed to even win a parliamentary majority for the first time in 12 years earlier in June.
How will it hamper, though, the fight against ISIS, with Turkey recently joining that coalition?
I think it's going to have a significant impact for 2 reasons. First of all, as President Erdogan told CNN this weekend, he considers the PKK to be a bigger threat to Turkey than ISIS, and we have seen Turkey engage the PKK with much greater ferociousness than it has engaged ISIL thus far. So much of Turkey's attention is focused on the PKK threat. But secondly, the PKK is closely affiliated with the Syrian Kurdish group, the YPG, that has been the main force fighting ISIS, the main effective force fighting ISIS on the ground in Syria. It has been working closely with U.S. and allied military to target ISIS fighters, and it's very likely that they're going to decide it's not worth continuing to ally themselves with the U.S. if the U.S. is also going to support Turkey's war against their brethren.
And any reaction out of Washington, from the Pentagon, from the State Department?
Well, in a lot of respects, Washington's hands are somewhat tied. The PKK is designated as a terrorist group by Washington. The United States is engaged in fighting terrorist groups in the Middle East. And so as long as Turkey characterizes this fight against the PKK as a counter-terrorist initiative, the United States has some reason to support that. However, we have seen statements from Secretary of Defense Leon and others suggesting that they'd really like to see the Turks focus much more of their energy on ISIL and not the PKK.
All right, many thanks for that, Blaise Bisztal of the Bipartisan Center in Washington. Thank you for joining us today.